Hey class, just here doing the form for our first reading of chapter one of our book um, about Michael Ord's conclusion on kind of why Americans have the attitude they do towards rules. Um, so yeah, I think obviously the rules are basically, I mean, you can see the competition rules, you can see them anywhere as far as when it goes to business and law and all that kind of practice because as Americans, we need rules. I mean, obviously for everything, we have rules for we need written rules, obviously for I mean everything. Like we're going to try to find, you know, basically what I would call it is a way to cut corners, if possible, you know. And I think the reason we needed that for our football games, like they were saying, or sport in general, is because if we can find a way to make it easier or a way to get a competitive advantage, we're going to take it. And as far as you can see, the same thing kind of in business, that kind of happens a lot too. Um, Anytime someone can find a way to get ahead of the competition, they're going to take it. Whether that's in the stock market, whether that's in sales or any kind of industry, you'll see that happening a lot. And I think that's kind of why we have to have HR and all these other things that we do because without someone to keep checks and balances of every single thing, um, it would get kind of chaotic. Um, There'd be a lot of you know things that kind of we have rules to follow and rules to keep structure. Um, those wouldn't be there, so it would be kind of chaotic for sure. As far as the second question, I think our society as a whole reflects our sports, as in every single sport we have now. Um, though they're not much different than before, as when it's time, but they all have I mean, they have some strict guidelines, strict rules, and everyone knows these rules, so they fall in line with all of these rules. And then you still see the same thing to this day. It's kind of like with our society, if they can if they can, find a way to maneuver around, they're gonna try to maneuver around. Same thing with sports. Just always trying to find an edge. I mean, if you think about it now, it's in major sports. Every sport has a replay to check and to make sure that because someone will petition something and they'll think that they did it right and you got it wrong. It's got to the point that we have to make sure that the referees we put in place to govern the whole thing did the right job because we're petitioning. Sometimes petitions aren't valid. It's just another opportunity for us to get ahead um, and try our best to petition. Hopefully it sticks out. So, and wrapping all that up, I think that we are as Americans are huge on that. I mean, I think when you think about when he was talking about the British and how they had honor and captains, like we have captains, we have all that, but at the same time, we still have to have um, these strict rules in place because no matter what the captain's saying, all that stuff, at the end of the day, someone's gonna try, or we're gonna try to find a way around it, around the rules, or try to bend the rules a little bit. So I think that is a I mean, that is obviously why we have to have these rules and why we have to have these kind of things in place um, to make sure that we don't obviously break them. Thanks, class.